Guys, we got several items of business to tend to today, so I'll make my overture real brief. We're 58% through the year, and just to narrow things down, County General's sitting at 50%. So we're rocking right along in really good shape again, thanks to our various elected officials and department heads. There wasn't a lot of stuff that stuck out to me. Janice she hadn't made it yet today, has she? She may be.
She's in New York.
Oh, is she?
New Jersey.
I thought maybe y'all put her in shop trying to move her off. I really hadn't found any serious blips. One thing I did have a question about, and again, Cindy's not here. On page 10, it just showed some of the ordinances that we have to publish in the paper. And generally, they're not very expensive, but there was one bill in there for over $1,000 on an emergency ordinance number 6 that we did, compared to two other ones at $74 and $132. And I was wondering why that one was so terribly expensive. Just, not earth-shattering, but just a question I had. I talked to the sheriff this morning about some questions I had on some of his stuff, and we'll be hitting on a couple of those here as we go down through there. County roads at 40%, county landfill at 41%. On county roads, we'll be talking some issues in there today. And my bullet points that Kelly supplies me with, we have the potential for 8 various appropriation ordinances today on points of business. So we're going to move right along. I don't even know if we want to mention the mental health grant. We've got a mental health grant that's just a pass-through. Don't see Bo here today. Have you heard anything from him?
He did call and he said he's not coming today. He's not able to come today. But we do need to do the ordinance this month to appropriate $300,000.
How much?
The total is $300,000.
Even? Kelly, can you tell them a little bit about it? We've had this presented to us for over a year now, and Judge Brassfield wasn't moved to deal with it at that time, so it's back up again.
Basically, it's a grant. It's a federal grant that was given to Mississippi County through Mid-South Health Systems in Jonesboro. They actually were the ones to apply for it, and they're going to be the ones administering the program. They're working with the Sheriff's Department and Judge Alexander, the circuit judge. She's involved in it. Anyway, it's a program to help people stay out of jail and help them with their mental health.
Is it associated with the drug court system type thing? Not?
It's different.
It is different. Didn't Mid-South Health, didn't they want us to just write them a check for $300,000 and give it to them?
They
Put that in documentation. Basically, yeah. That's not happening, guys.
Craig had is, they're gonna cut the ribbon on their mental health facility next month, 10th.
All right.
What kind of effect is this going to have on the people that's going to be doing the health care program out of the jail? Anything?
No.
This is a mental health court, is what it is, just like a drug court.
There you go. That's kind of what I was
What it
getting
is somebody's, my wife's in mental health, that's the reason I know about it, plus the prosecutor talked to us some about it. But basically somebody is not taking their medicine and they're disorderly or out of control. Instead of putting them in jail, they're going to put them where they need to be and get them the help they need to be. Because sometimes you have people in jail that don't need to be in jail because they've just gotten confused and not take their medicine or taking too much of their medicine. That's just one example. Could be a lot of things. So
the $300,000 puts them where they need to be, or pays for them to be in the mental health facility instead of jail.
well, if Mid-South's going to do I think Mid-South's got the contract. So this is for adults, and I think after a while they're going to try to do juveniles too. So right now there's nothing for juveniles in this, but this is just for adult patients. But eventually I think they're going to try to do juveniles well. But I mean, it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing. So I mean, because there are people that end up in jail that should not be in jail because they just didn't take their medicine. And they're like calling 911 because repeatedly, and then finally it becomes, well, you're just making prank calls. And they go and pick them up, take them to jail, but they feel like they need to call 911 because they think something's wrong. Sometimes they don't even realize what's wrong. It's just, that's just another little example, and I was here anyway. But,
It has a lot of support, including prosecuting attorney Scott Ellington.
right.
I think he's pretty involved in this program.
Well, that's where I've kind of heard from the prosecutors.
So, to address what you were questioning, Judge Nelson asked, is it associated in any way with the healthcare changes we made in the jail? And it's not, but in my discussion with the sheriff this morning, after the first few weeks of that new healthcare implementation, he said it appears to be very successful right at the moment. So cutting down on the non-necessary trips to the hospital for some of the inmates. So right now he's excited about it. Looks like it's working. Okay, so we need to do an appropriation ordinance to whom?
Well,
What line item? Where's that going to go to?
Peggy has to establish a fund. She knows that she's working on that. And once she gets the fund number, then I have their budget. And I know the amounts that need to go in which line item. But
Are y'all going to have those numbers by next Tuesday night for our regular quorum court meeting? Are y'all okay with going ahead and moving on that? Granted that Kelly and Peggy will get the correct number.
I think I'll fix that in there.
He said he thinks that you ought to be the one handling
She
it.
heard me.
federal grant.
And she's still not listening. Can I have a motion to that?
I'll move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Okay, so we're gonna have an appropriation ordinance based on the information that Kelly and Peggy put together for us regarding the mental health grant of $300,000 as a pass-through grant.
I'm sorry, I'm having to do minutes too. Can you tell me who did the motion?
Motion
Okay.
and second. And it'll be that way all day, back and forth. It's just these two.
One voted for it, one voted against it.
on those cases, it ain't going nowhere.
Okay, in your court, in your bailiwick court, y'all got an issue with Nucor Steel. We owe them apparently a little over $1 million out of economic development.
That we owe them any money.
I'm sorry then, because I thought you probably were. Okay, back in 2016, we passed an incentive that was up to $1.8 million for 100 jobs.
Yes,
And then they came to us and said, we're not going to get anywhere close to spending that much money.
yes,
And we reduced that down
yes,
to $500,000 in the 2019 budget,
yes.
when we built the budget.
Yes.
Per your instructions, we reduced it
Well, I
down.
think he went to Kelly,
Well, he said it here.
and that's all we budgeted was $500,000 because he told her that he would never use it. I do remember that.
Well, Kelly's come to Cliff now, not Kelly, Cliff has come to Kelly. And with all the new work and everything they've done, they've more than met what they were wanting. And so they want to back up and recoup some more of those funds, $1,017,000 from that original appropriation, which it's per our agreement with them from 2016.
Yes.
Our only hitch is, they're not wanting to change any numbers, but because we reduced that for the 2019 budget, we need to reappropriate the balance to get back up to the original. We don't have to go all the way to the original appropriation, or we can.
What was it, was 1.8?
1.8.
And they used how much, Kelly?
They haven't used anything. They're wanting to use $1,017,000.
So,
We just need to make up the difference, which would be $517,000, correct, Kelly?
that sound right, mathematician?
Well, I'm not
I
mad.
believe
Is that okay?
Yes.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
All right, you understand, Judge, what we're, in 2016, one of the economic development projects that we came up with was for Nucor for 100 jobs at 1.8 mil. Yeah, things didn't go so good the rest of 16, and they backed up and said, there's no way we're gonna be able to do all that. 2018 came along and things really flourished, and they've done all those different projects out there, and they have produced quite a number of jobs. And so they're asking on the basis of the original grant, or the original incentive, for $1,017,000 of the 1.8 incentive that we offered. When we built this year's budget and they told us that they weren't gonna need it, we bumped it down to $500,000 in the budget. Well, we're still under the agreement from 2016, but we didn't budget enough. So we just need to budget back up another $517,000 to go with the $500,000 we budgeted, and that way we can, and I think you're working with them on how to pay that to them, aren't you? Maybe.
Well, that was my next question, how we gonna pay it? Do you got something worked on?
I'll leave that with Cliff to,
I really wish you wouldn't.
Well, we ought to just be able to write them a check and then take it. That's what really should happen. I understand why it didn't work the way that they wanted to do it the first time. They asked us to pay a vendor, and the vendor didn't want to do it that way. They want their check to come from Newport. That way it looks like there's no hanky-panky in it or anything. So if we can't do it to a vendor, we almost have to do it to Newport, looks like.
I don't see any other way.
That's the way we did the economic development incentive to begin with, so. Okay, so we've got a motion, a second, that we're going to appropriate an additional $517,000 out of economic development to meet ordinance O 2016-15 commitments. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any questions from anybody?
Have you got a copy of that?
Which one?
The original.
I've got the number, I don't have the original.
I'll put it later.
You got it, Kelly? I have this real good finance director that keeps me abreast of these numbers.
That's a blessing.
It's not that I'm that smart. Okay, an issue in the sheriff's department that I'd at least like to get some discussion going on, and I think why I called the sheriff this morning. The sheriff's making some changes of personnel out there. And some of his people, they work like an 88-hour pay period, 44-hour work week, as compared to a 40-hour work week. The 88-hour pay period is amount to 2,184 hours a year. A normal 40-hour work week is 2,080 hours. The people that are in these pay slots, and I'm just going to use average numbers, say the salary for that Sergeant Joe's slot was $30,000. And he's moving Sergeant Joe to a job that does less hours, 40 hours. But he's not changing the pay. It's not changing anything except just his responsibilities, and the man works less hours. When the way our payroll is set up, and you correct me if I misspeak, the way our payroll is set up and the way you look at JSAP is it shows it as a per hour wage, even though it is on a salary basis. So if you take 30,000 and you divide it by 2184, it shows one number. You take that same 30,000 and divide it by 2080, it shows a higher number. It doesn't change the 30,000, but it changes the way it appears, especially in payroll. And so I asked the sheriff about it and kind of quizzed him. And apparently that's not an uncommon thing for him to do. He's done it over the years. He has to take one deputy and put in one position and then move him to another position. Kelly was concerned that in changing those hourly rates, it would appear that she was making pay changes, and she's not. And in truth, neither is the sheriff, because the salaries are staying the same. It's just changing the hourly rates. Anybody, Rick? You and I have discussed this.
Yeah, and the problem that we run into is if somebody looks at it and figures it out, it appears as though because we've changed those number of hours, then we're not paying them for all their hours. Because technically, under labor law, we have to pay them on an hourly basis instead of a salary. The only one that can we got into this with the police department, the only ones that could be salaried was the chief. They tried to say the captains could be salaried, and of course, I kind of looked at, I know as many hours as I get called out at night, and the labor board looked at us and said, nope, the only one that can be salaried is the chief. So, it's one of those things, if nobody says anything, they're okay, but if somebody jumps up and says, hey, I got changed, they changed my hourly rate, and I should be made, and be more importantly, if we moved them from an 80-hour work week to where they went to the 2184 a year, because it looks like you're not paying them for 104 hours. And then we would have to come back and pay them, even though it would be straight time, not overtime.
Well, he's not asking to change the salary or the
And I
slot
get that, but
frame.
the problem that we run into is the way it looks. If the labor board comes in, they're gonna look at it and say, hold it, this is his hourly wage.
Justice Norvell?
If with the state, if you're a supervisor, which I was a supervisor when I left, anybody sergeant and above is supervisor, you're salaried. It don't matter if you work, I mean, you gotta work 40 hours, but it don't matter if you work 80 hours that week, you get paid the same amount of money. I mean, everybody's still gotta put in 40, but it don't matter how many you work above and beyond that, you get paid the same amount of money. So, I understand
See,
that.
I asked the question because with the city, they looked at it and they said, nope, if you are below the rank of chief, you are an hourly person.
Well, anybody, like I said,
And
the
I
county
asked,
should do that
does that
same.
apply, does it apply to the county the same as it does to the city? And I was told, yes, it does. Now, I have not asked the labor board because I don't want to stir that pot.
Justice Jenkins?
No, I agree, about stirring the pot. And so what you're saying is they're going to work less hours and we're going to adjust their pay to follow the
They're going to get the
lesser.
same amount of pay and work 104 hours less. So it looks like that their hourly rate goes up. Now, the problem is, if you take somebody, let's say a CID person is transferred to patrol, they go from an 8-hour day to 12-hour days. Now they're going from 2080 hours a year to 2184 a year.
It was having a-
And if they're going into, like, say he's going from the sergeant's position in CID to the sergeant's position in patrol, he's gonna work 104 hours more for the same amount of pay he was getting for working the 28.
Now, he's changing slots when he does that, and we assign those salaries by slots. So if he's going from a sergeant to CID, isn't that,
Well, no, your sergeants make the same amount of money, no matter whether you're in CID. A sergeant's a sergeant's a sergeant. Same thing with a lieutenant, they all make the same amount of money. The problem is, if you move one of them, and the way he's done this, it's not a problem, but if you move someone from a 2080 to a 2184, then you've got the problem. Somebody can jump up and say, well, hey, I'm working 104 hours more and I'm getting the same amount of money I was getting as a 2080-hour person.
see, and I thought Harley was the only one that griped about stuff like that.
No, this would be
And I
an
think technically
employee.
the labor board can make you pay the difference there.
They can.
That is,
But is this, I mean, this person is wanting to be transferred, more than likely.
Mhm.
They're not transferring,
There's 3 of them.
Well,
Yeah.
everyone who's moving right now is going from a 2184
Down to 28.
down to a 2080. What I'm saying is your
they
problem
will get a
is,
raise.
you've got to look at, if it
Not
reverses that,
financial,
then we got an
An
issue.
effort, yes.
When that-
Yeah, it's kind of raised, yeah. They get an hourly raise
More problems.
with some limitations.
They're working less and still got, I mean, that's a raise.
And I did see you really comment, but I'm not talking about it, so.
I don't know what
Anyway,
oh.
it's a raise.
I really didn't need any action, I just wanted discussion and get this out and let everybody talk about it. And, you know, it's his prerogative, as long as he's not asking for more money. But Kelly didn't want anybody to think that she was making changes because she's not.
I heard Kelly was giving out secret raises. You put that in the
That's
paper,
what-
Joe.
if you look at those slots, it's gonna look like his pay went up by like 60-something cents an hour.
Well, it kinda did. I mean,
I'm not arguing.
there's not, I mean, it did. It's not gonna kinda look that way, it
It's
did.
always that way.
Okay, road department. Normal course of business, all this goes under the judge's purview, but normal course of business is we lease road graders. And every year, we have a couple that comes off. You don't want them all coming off at the same time. We've had 2 road graders lease run out, we turn them back, and the judge has renewed them. And, you know, as with most equipment, payments never go down. The old payment, monthly payment per grader was $1,594. The new payment for each new grader is $1,900. We appropriated on the basis of the old payment, $1,600. We need to bump it up to the $1,900 for the remainder of the year. I did do the math, and if we're talking 6 months, starts July 1st. $3,672 that we need to appropriate to meet the new payment agreement on the 2 new graders. That still comes out of the road department. Any comments, Judge? Just cut and dry. I mean, this is normal course of business every year. How many graders are we running now? 10?
11?
11, I think with one spare.
Still running 11? Great. GPS still working good on it?
Oh, yeah, it's nice. Then they really like it.
Anybody got any questions? Anybody? Comments? Motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion made that we increase the appropriation in the road grader lease line item for an additional $3,672 to meet the new lease agreement payments. Motion made by Justice Jackson, seconded by Justice Nelson. All in favor? Any opposed? I passed out some memos to the elected officials a second ago. I know it's just August, guys, but it's time to start thinking and talking about 2020 budget processes. The first weekend first Monday in September is actually the Labor Day weekend on the 2nd. So I've scheduled our first budget meeting for September the 9th, second Monday of the month in September. And we, as always, when we're building a new budget, we start with our revenues so that we can see how much money we've got to work with. And we'll spend a couple weeks working on revenues. Most of that's directed to Peggy's office, and in conjunction with Harley's office as assessor, and even the collector's office will be involved in those revenue projections. But I would like to put all department heads and elected officials on notice to please start looking at their expenditures. In the letters that we passed out to these guys, Kelly will be sending out expenditure budget worksheets, which shows what we've done the past couple of years, and then has some blank spots for y'all to pencil your numbers in. Then once we get through, probably towards the end of September, maybe the last Monday, hopefully we'll be able to start working on the expenditure budgets. You'll remember we try to do 2 to 4 different budgets per week until we get through the process. We listen to all the proposals on expenditures, and then we come back through and look at them as, against the revenues, and then we start making adjustments. So, any questions from Susan? Did I give you one of those letters?
No, sir, you left me out.
Well, you look so.
Cutting your budget.
He's cutting my budget.
But I've got one up here for you.
You'll be first.
Anybody got any questions about that? I just wanted to make sure that we got that out there. Going right along with that, elected officials, anybody that wants to update your job descriptions for those employees in your departments, now would be the time to do so. We'll be submitting, 2020 is the even year that we normally would submit our Jessup numbers for reevaluation. And, those evaluations are done on the basis of job descriptions. So anybody that would like to reevaluate or look at changes being made in their various slots, please update your job descriptions for your employees. Leslie Mason storage rent. We've done this, you know, we rented a new building, or another part of a new building for Leslie, just to do her storage. And when we did the appropriation ordinance, we appropriated it out of Leslie's regular budget, but no, we appropriated it out of your automation budget, didn't we, Leslie? Okay, you wanna talk about it just a second?
Well, it has to be paid out of a county general fund, so I've transferred that much money into county general to pay that for the rest of the year.
Because I've talked too much, won't you tell them why? Why that's like that?
The 25%, my recorder's fund cost, the 25% has laws of what I can use it for and what it can't be used for. And so if you want to use it for something different, you need to do it the proper way, which is transfer it to county general. And most of the time, they don't want you to transfer any money unless you have over $100,000. That's what the law says. So I'm in good shape in that area. So I'm able to transfer that money and pay for the storage unit.
Yeah, what we're talking about, guys, is $1,950, and because of that, and thank you for the explanation, I just get tired of talking all the time. Just can't pay it out of a special revenue fund, like our automation fund. It needs to come out of county general. We actually appropriated it out of our special revenue. We need to appropriate it out of county general, same money. She just took it out of that one fund and put it over in county general. So we need to add this to our appropriation ordinance of $1,950 for the storage building rent for the rest of the year. Any questions, anybody? Motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second that we appropriate $1,950 out of Leslie's county general account to pay for the new storage building rent. All in favor?
What was that for automation?
Well, it came out and then.
Okay.
It's got to come out and go back in and come out of, yeah.
I already did the transfer with Penny. So it's
Court
already-
order? How are you keeping up here? Am I going too fast?
She prints pretty fast.
You okay?
What'd you say?
I said, can you confirm that fee?
Yes, you can. And just for an update, while we're talking about the storage unit, we've made, from February till now, here, there, and whenever we can fit it in, we've made 8 trips with the ADC to transfer stuff to the office and, of course, now to the storage unit. And hopefully Wednesday, if we can get all the rest of the books moved. We've had 100 years worth of books and dockets and everything else to move. So hopefully the 9th trip will be taking place Wednesday, and that will hopefully get all of our books into the new storage unit. And the only thing, and the cabinets, except for my movable filing cabinet that I will have to schedule the gentleman to come and move now. And also the 3 tower cabinets that are in the book room, in that record room, that I have no way of moving those. He's gonna have to try to get those disassembled and moved some kind of way. But all of the cabinets, everything else that are the cabinets that are along the walls and everything else will have moved out, hopefully, if everything works out okay. Then we should hopefully have it all done by Wednesday, I hope.
If you saw the front page of the weekend newspaper, the court moving process has already started. The judge may correct me on the scheduling, but I think the last thing to move will probably be the circuit court system. Not the last thing?
Well, yes, it'll be the last thing. The next thing will be next week, will be the collector and the assessor.
But the last
Right,
thing
the last thing will
be the circuit court. Y'all have you formulated a plan about how you're gonna service those yet out there?
Say that again?
Have you got a plan in mind about how you're gonna service the circuit court system with it moving out to Burdette?
The same thing I said earlier, last year when we budgeted and all this took place before the tax referendum ever went out there. We'll load up our files and move like we do. That's what we'll do. No problem.
Back to the road department. I like this bouncing around stuff. Judge, you wanna move some money around? If you look on, anybody that cares to look in their budgets, county road starts on page 42 and goes through 46. County roads are only at 40% of expenditures. When we built the budget last year, of course, we'd gone through Judge Carney and then through Judge Brassfield, and Judge Nelson had no opportunity for input into that. And we put quite a bit of money in a couple of different categories. One of them being asphalt at $200,000, gravel, dirt, slag, and sand at $250,000, bridges and steel $500,000, and we've used very little of any of those funds. The road department, again, is the one department that the judge has final and full authority and say-so over, he'd like to move some of these monies around, particularly in the bridges and steel, if I'm understanding him right. Judge, you want to just...
Yeah, we're in need of some new automobiles. Actually, what started this when we were on the interstates mowing the right-of-ways. We decided that we did not have near enough of the emergency lighting because that traffic is of such volume going so fast. We didn't feel like our people were safe enough. So we were trying to get an idea about what kind of lighting we would want, and then got to looking at the vehicles and got to noticing how old they were and how many miles they had on them. That we're really in need of, rather than trying to put some new lights on a really old truck. And by the way, we're putting in not a transmission, but a rear end in one of them, I believe, today. John,
We're doing a transmission too.
is a transmission.
We're doing both. We're doing both.
And what did we come up with, 6 trucks, 6 vehicles?
We've got 6, 3 of them are over 200,000 miles.
So I think it's time that we moved on, and then when we do get those, we will make a light package up with it so that we'll be able to, and not just the interstates, but we're working on the highways, working on the gravel roads, which has moved us to something else that we need some high visibility clothing on. And looking into that, we found out there's different grades or levels that you go up to, so we're going to go up to the high standards of high visibility clothing. Because the road department's in traffic a lot.
Can't imagine.
Hence the road department. So I think we need to take some more steps to be safe, make not only our people safer, but the public safer. So that's the vehicles, the uniforms, the lights,
Radios.
and the radios. We're not able to communicate, directly from one vehicle to the next. We do have a repeater, and it's sitting up on the top of the sheriff's tower, so everything's there. We just have to have the radios. So what I'd like to do, is there another area that I missed? So what I'd like to do is move that around. You've got $500,000 in bridge money. The idea behind that was our former road director, and was under the impression that we may be able to actually construct or reconstruct some of those bridges that we have, and that we're not capable of that.
Legally, the judge doesn't, he's not asking for any new money, not asking for any new appropriation. He can make these moves and move around within his budget. The only legal requirement he has is to inform the court about what he's doing and the moves that he's making. So we don't need any appropriations, I don't think, Kelly. We just fix this in our cleanup budget and move it between the line items. So, and I appreciate the judge's moves and keeping us informed like he's doing. Anything else? Yeah, Personnel Committee. Let's go ahead and talk about that, I guess, Judge. And Rick, you wanting to make some changes out in the road department? Strategic planner?
Yes, that was, that came in there in the very first of the year. We were increasing the staff of the judge's office, and, I didn't have anything to do at all with the last budget, and so I were just thankful to get this other staff member. I didn't really care where he went. But then you get in and you start looking back on it, it shows that our strategic planner is a road grader operator, which is not correct. So what I'd like to do is correct that.
So will you, Justice Ash?
We were going to we recommended that we create a slot for, we would call it strategic planner,
And this is a new slot creation.
yes, and the salary would basically be the same that as out of a road grader, but he's not even going to be working full-time. I don't remember how many hours we recommended, but I think it's like 20 hours a week. Because he has a full-time job. Some weeks he works 8 hours, and others he may work as many as, I think most he gets 32 with the way he works at his other job, so.
You
may work
recommended
more
a slot
hours.
max of 29,354.
Yes.
This, again, is out of road department money for this particular slot. So he'll still be an employee basically paid out of the road department, but he'll have a more correct job title and
Yes.
job description. What about the road grader slot?
We're just gonna leave it open for right now.
Okay, are we defunding it, using money, just leaving, you'd like to leave it funded and increase road department appropriations? Guys, just gee whiz, road department CD fund is almost 1.8 million just in the CD fund. They've got almost 600,000 in their regular checking account. We can't transfer or use those funds in any other department outside of the roads. Thoughts? Motion?
Second.
Okay, and that's for a particular slot. We're talking about the slot of strategic planner in the road department with a max salary set at $29,350 and hours to be worked as needed with no set hours. As long as we're talking about slots, I think the personnel department also personnel committee addressed another position, liable janitor.
Yes, we did.
Liable courthouse janitor,
What we recommended was that there was
We recommend we create that slot,
yes.
but he wasn't gonna fill it right now. He was gonna look at the guy that he was thinking about.
And the guy was in a 10th spot, I think.
Yeah, we've got a guy who's working basically on a contract labor, so we want to create the slot. He's going to continue using the contract labor, because if somebody jumps up and offers him a full-time job, he doesn't want him to quit and take it without him being able to offer him a full-time job.
Judge?
Oh, yes, he's a very good, I say he's a unique individual, and I think he's very qualified. He's done this before. He's a young guy, in late 20s.
And your reasoning, justification?
Well, just like today, we got Benny back.
Oh, we do? Good for
Yeah,
me.
correct. Yeah. You seen Benny today?
Sorry.
We got Benny back.
Good.
He's at Blyville. We've got Mr. Rice here. He's at Osceola. And we have Terrell at Votech. And those are all three people can possibly do. And then when we move back to Blyville, after that restoration and addition is completed, we're gonna have a building that is twice the size that it is right now. So, I think,
One guy can't do that.
no, one guy can't do
That was the reason we recommended going ahead and fund, or creating a position, putting funding there, so that in the event something happened and he gets offered another job, if the judge continues to feel the same way he does now, then he can say, hold it, I'd like to offer you a full-time job with the county and fill that position at that point.
This would come out of the courthouse budget and the county general. Guys, Justice?
Oh, I was on the personnel committee and made the motion, so I'm forward.
Any discussion against or
No.
motion?
Motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second that we create another new slot, liable courthouse janitor, with a max salary of $23,834 at a 2,080 hour annual hour rate. Motion made and seconded. No further discussion. All in favor? Motion made by Justice Jackson, seconded by Justice Nelson.
This is custodian.
I was thinking of what we call it maintenance, because he's more like maintenance than he was.
Mr. Rice done fix that.
Okay, I was thinking that one too.
Yeah, that's Mr. Rice.
Okay.
You know,
He's painting right now, by the way.
Well, good. Very good.
last month, in our meeting last month, we addressed some of the lower salary ranges, trying to get everybody up at least into the second tier of the JSAT program. And in one of those positions, it was a position that was actually split between Collector McCormick's office and Harley Bradley's office in the assessor's office. And we didn't exactly do that appropriation exactly right, because we put it all, we're doing it all out of Susan's office, Collector McCormick's office. So we just need a little bit of a line item in our appropriation ordinance that changes the split. The original was a 90-10. Now then, the new split needs to be an 86.01 to 13.99.
Why don't we nitpick it, okay?
This is just our auditors that do this to us, and they get very, very particular. They get so nitpicky on us. It's not changing any money, it's not appropriating anything, but
That doesn't make everybody happy.
yeah, it kind of is an appropriation. It's just not, yeah, it'll make everybody happy. Okay, second. All in favor? Okay.
So now this was not the one, this was not where you were splitting or you were combining two slots. Is that something different? I think.
Are you talking about for the girl at Manila?
Yes.
Okay. You're not, I missed the first part of it, I apologize. Did you give her the money that I had allotted for a part-time person?
No,
You're just bringing her up to what the JSAP was?
What
yes.
they approved.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Okay, all right,
It wasn't a lot, it just
yes. It
Skewed
wasn't
the-
much, yeah.
skewed the 90-10 just a little bit on us, and we're just meeting auditor demands.
Okay, that's good.
You're still rich, you got money.
Yeah, right.
Oh, energy and property. Who's chairman of that?
Women,
Oh, that's right here.
oh, she took his,
Yeah, she's acting chairman.
Yes, while he's gone.
Acting chairman. We talked about the contract for the extension office going down to Osceola.
Yes, we did, yes, that's right.
And
Yes.
so we're gonna move there. Judge, you wanna talk about just anything you want to put in on that?
Our intentions are to razz the building. We're currently sits on the northwest corner of Wild Courthouse to allow us additional room, specifically parking. And so we're going to relocate the extension office personnel. There was a couple of different places that were being discussed where they could move to. And during those discussions, we spoke with the soil conservation people that own the building that houses FSA and the natural resource agencies, the federal agencies. They've got room, they proposed a plan, they were the cheapest one. And the extension office, which works with farmers quite a bit, that'll be where all the farmers gravitate around. It is going to cost us, I think, $8,000 something a year.
Yeah, and about an additional 4,000, a little better a year.
Right. By the time you take off our insurance and maintenance and all and utilities and all that other stuff, it's going to really whittle it down quite a bit. So, and that will, considering we're going to double the capacity of our circuit courtroom, and by building the addition, we're going to cut our parking spaces in half. This looks like a good move to make.
I've been down and looked at that office space down there, and it's going to be a nice office. Where it sits next to the courthouse right now, and where it's been for years, it's kind of out of the way for particularly the farmers. There's no reason for them to go there unless they're going to the extension office, but the building that we're talking about houses both the FSA and soil conservation offices down in Osceola. Be on Main Highway 140 between the interstate and downtown Osceola. Farmers are in there on a regular basis, and it just makes common sense to put this other farm-oriented office in there at the same time. Much more accessible, and more in the center of the county, so,
It's right next to Farm Bureau too.
yes, exactly.
And that building that they're in right now is older. At one time, it was the Mississippi County Tuberculosis Center. So what it was before that, I'm not sure. But,
Do you know what their time frame schedule is looking like?
no, but I think everything's got a green light right now after this, and I believe that they're in the motion.
Do we want to go ahead and do the appropriation for that now, or do we want to wait until we have an exact number?
You might should do it now, just in case they need something in place before the end of the year.
We've got, well, we don't have a line item to pay rent out of, so we'll have to add a line item in to do that.
We're gonna have to appropriate more than the 4,000.
We're only gonna spend what we have to spend, so I'd rather be a little over appropriated, just have to come back and do a little bit again, and we've got now then, September, we'll have the last 4 months of the year, about 25%, third of the year. Let's just go ahead, if we did the whole $4,000, I think that would more than pay us. What do you think, Joe?
I think that would cover all your bases you want to worry about.
Yeah, let's just,
That's
$4,000.
for rent only.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, we appropriate $4,000 and create a new line item for rent for the extension service down in Osceola. All in favor? Hanging with us, Kelly? Kelly's taking minutes also, so I'm trying to give her enough time to freehand all this. She's filling in for Cindy today. We had back to your planning and development in the last meeting that we had the other day.
I got a couple of things.
Okay, let's
ready
go.
for me. You notice everybody has We had appropriated $410,000 to Arkansas Steel Processing, $10,000 a job for 41 jobs. They're not going to meet that. So we want to amend the existing ordinance to allow them to spend $300,000 of that $410,000 for capital investment, equipment, but it's got to be capital. And we need to get that on the full court. The balance, the $110,000 expenditure will still have to come from the workforce program at the colleges. The graduates will still have to be from the workforce program.
So do you know exactly how you want us to verbalize that, what you want us to do?
Just like I said,
Verbalize it for $300,000.
for change of the $410,000, we want to allow them to spend $300,000 for capital investment. The $110,000 that remains
Still goes through workforce.
still goes through workforce, people that complete the college workforce program.
So we're gonna amend that, original ordinance, and the original ordinance is,
We're not going to change the amount of money.
no, we're gonna leave it, we're just gonna amend it,
Change the verbatim so that,
how they can use it, yeah. That original ordinance is O 2017-10 for $410,000. What, Mr. Chitwood is asking is that we, take $300,000 of that 410 and reverbalize it to where they can use it for capital expenditures and leave the other $110,000 remaining as is to go to workforce compliance with the college.
Was this the internship, or we were gonna pay them?
Yeah, exactly.
they can't just be off the street, they have to have been into the workforce training that the college is doing.
And they're having trouble getting people to the workforce.
Yes.
Judge,
I've got a question. Is that going to modify the existing fund number, or is that going to add a fund?
It's just amending that appropriation ordinance, not changing any dollars, just gonna let them spend it a different way.
The 410, 300 is gonna be spent a different way than the original. I was thinking the 300 was gonna replace the 410.
We had talked about that we would void the 410,000, do a new ordinance for 300. Cliff said he'd rather just leave 110,000 in case we have somebody graduate from the program,
I see.
and then allow them to have $300,000 for capital expenditures. And that'll be done the same old way as invoices go to capital.
To refresh your memories on the workforce program, it's through the college, and it's where the college trains to specific job type activities. And then this money is used to encourage employers to hire these workforce training graduates. And we pay the first month we pay 100% of their salary. Second month we pay 50%. Third month we pay 25%. And it encourages employers to at least give these guys or girls, these people, graduates, an opportunity to show what they can do. It's been a little slow getting its feet on the ground, and employers picking up on these new graduates, but I will toot the judge's horn just a little bit in that he's getting involved, and he's going and talking to some of these work employment people and encouraging them, asking pointed questions about why they may or may not be using these people, and seeing how we can amend and make this a more successful program.
There are two workforce recruiters.
Carooters?
What a wonderful day. The college has two workforce recruiters. They are much aware that if this program fails, they're out of work. So they're trying very hard to find students for the workforce program. It's not that they're just sitting out there under a shade tree or not doing anything. They know that if it ends, their job's over.
And this is almost like a guaranteed job once you finish, right?
Well, it's supposed to be, but
I mean,
the only guarantee is if somebody hires you, and that's the problem. We've been having graduates and nobody hiring them, and we're trying to figure out why. Especially when it's free labor.
right.
Yeah.
So that's where the judge is coming in and playing a linchpin in that, and trying to put some grease on the wheel.
It's not like they don't know it exists, I mean, almost. I mean, they're not aware of the program, because otherwise, I mean, when you hire
That's
them,
basically what it is.
Have you gotten any feedback from them as to why they're not hiring?
I have, and we're in the middle of correcting it.
Good answer.
That's why he's the judge.
Okay, so all we're wanting to do is we want to amend 2017-10. We're not asking for additional money, we're just reverbalizing and reappropriating $300,000 of it. Any other questions, guys? Anybody?
I move we amend it.
A second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
I've got two,
excuse me, me and Betty's got to leave, so I just didn't want to interrupt y'all.
Oh, okay, good, thank you.
Where you going? Nobody's got time.
I'm sorry, just call me later and tell me what you said.
I have two tax back programs,
Well, yeah, cool.
sir.
I said, cool.
It is cool. One of them is Frigitech, and the other one is Arkansas Steel Processing. And of course, Arkansas Steel Processing, if they purchase this equipment, then they will have a sizable tax back due them. Everybody knows, and I'll go over it every time, that tax back comes from the state of Arkansas. It's money that they spend as taxes on equipment that they purchase for their business, or sales tax on building materials. And there's a state law that they're entitled to it, but they can't get it unless it goes through the quorum court, and then we certify it to the state. So we want that on the agenda, if you please.
Absolutely. Any problems with that? All in favor?
That's it.
Did you get that, Michaela?
There's no motion or anything, it's just,
Yeah, it's,
Just
That's
add
not
it
even
to
an
the
appropriation ordinance, that's a resolution.
resolution.
That's correct.
Judge, you got anything that I don't have on my list?
Yes, I've got one that I'd like to propose to finance. We have, in the beginning of our plans for our restoration and new addition, our two restoration projects and our new addition, we had planned on incorporating a great deal of aesthetics in it. And while we were doing that, we were trying to come up with some idea to frame that, and remembering our past and cherishing our present and planning our future was going to be kind of the mold we were going to set to do those things. So, in speaking with members of the staff, former court members, the citizens, I had a chance to speak with Chuck Banks, which is a former resident of Mississippi County. In fact, he may still own a home here. He primarily lives in Little Rock now. He has served as our one of our Arkansas attorney generals. He's been a successful attorney in Little Rock.
U.S. attorney.
U.S. attorney, that's what I meant to say. I knew I was saying something wrong. U.S. district attorney. And his father was also a county judge at one time, and if I'm not mistaken, served the longest serving county judge in Arkansas or Mississippi County history. He was also one of the founding members of the National Association of Counties of starting the Arkansas Association of Counties, and he was instrumental in getting that done. He was also instrumental in Amendment 55, which paved the way for what we now look at as a real working quorum court. He's done just tremendous things in county government. And so, in keeping with the aesthetic idea and all, I think it would be a great tribute not only to him, but it would also add a great deal of artwork and history to our courthouse, our renovation and our addition in the Bible courthouse. So what we were hoping to do is through private subscriptions is to collect some money and then memorialize him in a form of art, maybe a bust, maybe a granite statue or some sort of memory anyway. So we've already got promises for money that's going to be contributed. I thought it would probably be most appropriate if we could establish a fund in the treasurer's office that would collect and maintain this money. And so I asked Peggy to look into it. She spoke with Eddie Jones at the association, and he said he didn't see a problem with it. And this is his email: Mississippi County needs to enact an ordinance that establishes the fund, Judge Shug Banks Memorial Fund, and the ordinance should address the reason for the fund, that the money's funds will be through private and public donations, and that the fund will be used for a stated purpose, and that the expenditures will be made through the normal appropriation and claims process. So I propose this to you, that if you're in favor of such an idea, that you would pass that at this finance meeting and move it to the full court.
Discussion, just discussion.
I think it's a great idea. I like that idea. Really, it's not going to cost.
You're talking about Shug Banks?
Yeah, Shug Banks.
No, okay, I didn't know which one.
Shug.
Should.
Judge Shug Banks and what he had done.
Just
for Mississippi
remembering,
County.
yeah, everything that he has done as a county judge.
You know what Barry said about him? I can't repeat it in here, but it was favorable. I just can't repeat it.
I'd like to see that.
Motion,
Yes.
second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
That we establish a Judge Shug Banks Memorial Fund with the restrictions and purposes that the Judge Nelson set forth. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Cool. We'll move forward on that, Judge. I'm kind of excited to see that come to fruit too.
It'll make it, I think, an area of it very attractive and also historically informative.
Anything else for us from your office?
Have we done all of the wording for the bids yet? Because we haven't done the wording for the plaque for the justices that'll be placed on the wall of the new courthouse. Normally they have to pay for it, the construction people. And it needs to be, bronze brass.
We really hadn't started that bid process yet. Okay, question is, where are we at in the bid construction process specifically? And one of the particular items that Justice Nelson was interested in is normally when there's a big project like this, there is a bronze or brass plaque establishing the administration, including the judge's office and quorum court, and if that had been bid out or anything thought about coming out of the architectural office.
You're talking about a plaque?
Yeah. It's like when we built the sheriff's department.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. It has not been discussed.
We're just not there yet.
No. But we have discussed similar things that may actually be a part of that, a cornerstone. We do have parts of the original courthouse that we're considering working into that. Actually, there's several ideas that kind of goes along with that. In fact, I need to share with y'all an email that we got the other day from the architects that's going to show some of that in it. But I will get on it and we'll see if we can't. We've just been busy with probably matters that just took its place for right now. But yes, we will do something like that.
Peggy, you got anything for us, son?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact.
Cool.
My computer did not make the move very well the other day.
Was it dropped or just died?
It died. And it's time for me to buy new computers anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a quote from Norris today for 2 new computers for my office and monitors, which will be paid for out of my automation fund. And the price is $3,315.
You got the money?
Yeah.
We already appropriated it?
No.
We haven't? We haven't. I'm sorry. Okay, how much do you need?
$3,315.
$3,315. That'd be out of,
$3,000.
okay. Any questions, guys?
No.
She got the money, she needs it. Motion made and seconded.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? That was pretty easy. Anything else?
Thank you.
Leslie,
Yeah.
Miss Circuit Clerk, anything else from you, dear?
Don't ask her.
Daryl?
The only thing I really did want to say earlier, and I didn't want to interrupt the flow of things, but when the judge was talking about the new Terrell that's been hired,
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's very important to say that Terrell has a really good work ethic and a really good personality, and he, to me, is a very good asset that we now have, because to me, a good personality, good attitude means everything. And I think the county is blessed to have 2 good custodians that have great attitudes and are very positive people.
Nice.
I think so too. I think I'll reiterate, they both stand out. Terrell is actually one of those people that you know is going to be good right off the bat.
Sounds like a good move for the county. Daryl, anything out of juvie we need to be aware of? Susan?
They did a great job though, by the way, all of them, and Daryl included, of coming out and putting the parking stripes on the VOTEC grounds. They did an excellent job in some horrendous temperatures. And I'm very thankful to them for doing that.
Remind me to ask you about the new course striping job after the meetings over where we're at on that.
Okay.
They're calling me again.
Well, I'll just say right now, those people are so busy, I need them back over here. And I've got 2 firms I'm working with, and your father called me as well, and there's so much work out there to be done. They're going it as hard as they can, and.
We hadn't forgotten though, that's what they're
No,
asking.
I've got 2 more jobs I need for.
Okay, all right. Ms. Collector, anything, any questions, anything for us? You ready for the move?
Yep.
You moving this week?
Thursday and Friday. We'll be closed Thursday and Friday, reopen on Monday.
Nice. Anything you need from this committee?
$20,000 to $30,000 to do it.
Can we get it out of your automation fund?
All is good.
Kelly, I got all the bases covered that I really wanted to today. Anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay, good. There's no further things, guys. I appreciate everybody coming. We meet next Tuesday night. I say it every month. This could be our last meeting in the, that's its regular place in the courthouse.
Here?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I would suggest everyone be there, because I'm going to say there's a very good chance that will be the last.
This could be our last one in this courthouse, or
I'll let you
this,
know.
this courtroom.
I will not be.
And the house was to provide for
I won't be there, I should be in Alaska.
Okay, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate your attention.